Well, Harry Horton has been in Batley and Spen following the twists and turns of the by-election over the last few weeks. Harry, how's the campaign been going?
Well, it's been a busy few weeks here in Batley and Spen. We've seen party leaders, activists from parties and MPs descend on West Yorkshire to try and help out in what's expected to be a closely fought by-election here. But the campaign has turned ugly in recent days. Overnight, police arrested one man and they're appealing for information about a second man, put out an image of a second man they want to speak to about an alleged assault on some election canvassers over the weekend here in Batley. Now, all of this tension is very unwelcome, especially because the former MP here, Joe Cox, was of course murdered back in 2016. Now, whatever the result here later this week, there will be lots of national attention on this, but judging by the people we've been speaking to locally here over the past few weeks, there's not much excitement about the by-election that's happening this week. After 5 elections in 6 years, you can forgive the voters of Batley and Spen for being a bit tired of politics. Since lockdown, there's been lots of bowling to catch up on in Cllr, and enthusiasm for a by-election appears wide of the mark.
In the past, years gone by, we were all as Labour, but they didn't seem to get, you know, in the days of Harold Wilson when we voted Labour, so that's way back into it. At the moment, I'm not dead sure which I'll pick, to be quite honest.
For others here, just the thought of voting is a dead end.
As soon as I get my voting paper, I'll just put it in, because I'm not interested in them. They say something, then they go do something else. Everybody knows that.
On the other side of this constituency is Batley, one of West Yorkshire's most deprived areas. MOHAMMED SALU has lived here for 40 years.
Everything is a problem here. Everything, housing, job and everything.
Across Batley and Spen, almost 1 in 3 adults are economically inactive, compared to just over 1 in 5 in Yorkshire and the Humber. Almost 1 in 3 children in the constituency live in relative poverty, higher than the UK average. When the country locked down last year, food bank usage here shot up.
The area's been quite badly affected by austerity. Still feeling the effects of austerity, 10 years on. I mean, you can see around you, there's quite a lot of empty buildings, things like that are not getting the attention that they need, quite a lot of empty shops. And I think, this area's ripe for a new regeneration, really.
This is a big by-election. Both Labour and the Conservatives have a strong chance of winning it. The Tories have held this seat before, but if Labour were to lose this time, it would be a bitter disappointment to a party that's struggled to connect with Yorkshire voters in recent years.
If the Conservatives were able to overturn that majority, which, as I mentioned, is quite small, and were able to make a further gain, that's another seat that they've got. It's another blue flag that they can stick into that traditional red heartland and say, look, we're a viable party. We're here for northern voters. We've got something to say for the northern regions.
Could I ask?
All the way for you.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Hoping to overturn Labour's 3,000 majority here is Ryan Stephenson, a Leeds councillor and academy director.
It's always going to be a tough challenge with a seat that's had a Labour MP for nearly a quarter of a century, but there's a real positive feeling on the doors. People seem ready for change.
You weren't born in this constituency, you don't live here at the moment. Some people might say, why should they put their trust in someone who they don't consider to be a local candidate?
I was born in West Yorkshire. I grew up here. I'm director of an academy trust locally that operates here, and children from the area come to our schools, and I'm a councillor here in West Yorkshire as well, so I know what the issues are that people are raising, and I've got the political experience to actually work with the government and get the investment we need for the area. And when I'm talking to people, that's really resonating on the doorstep. They want somebody who can work with the government and get that investment.
You will vote for me, thank you.
Labour have put their faith in LEADBEATER, a community activist and the sister of former MP Joe Cox.
People are bringing things up at a local level, national level and international level. But the local stuff is the biggest conversation piece by far.
We've been speaking to people here in Batley and Spen over the past few days. There's lots of apathy, lots of people telling us they're not even going to vote at all in this by-election. If you were elected, what would you do to try and restore a bit of pride to people living here?
You know, I've learned so much in the last 5 years about what politics is and what it means, and actually politics is all about people. It's all about our schools and our kids and, you know, the NHS and all the things that we deal with every day of our lives. So one thing I would really look to do would be to get into schools and talk about politics and how important it is, and also, you know, connecting with people on the doorstep. I'm explaining to people, look, if ever anything bad happened in your life, if ever you had any problems, your MP is one of those people who can help, and that's why I would want to do the job, to help local people.
Batley and Spen feels like an area that's been knocked off course. There are big challenges here, and whoever is elected MP faces a tough job to earn back the trust and faith of voters.
Well, Harry, we've heard from the Conservatives and Labour. What are the other candidates standing?
Yeah, well, as is often the case in by-elections, it's very busy. In fact, there are 16 candidates standing in this by-election. And if you drive around the various towns in this constituency, as I've been doing over the past few weeks, you'll notice it seems as though there's election posters on almost every lamppost here. Now, many of those other candidates standing are hoping to present themselves as an alternative to the two mainstream parties standing here.
I think this place is exactly the kind of place that would benefit from the attention of the Workers' Party and me. It's left behind, neglected, taken for granted. Nobody pays it any attention or spends any money on it.
Residents here in Batley and Spen have been dealt a really cruel hand. They've got a Labour council locally that just isn't listening to residents, and a Tory government that, quite frankly, just doesn't care. So having someone who will hold both those feet to the fire and fight for the best deal is what a Liberal Democrat MP, what I would do.
A lot of the other parties, they're spending time blaming each other for the situation we're in, rather than setting out, actually, how do we get out of this? And what we're saying is that our solution for getting out of this is devolution and getting that fair share of funding. That's how we really tackle the areas in our our local priorities.
Now, votes will be counted overnight here on Thursday. We'll bring you all the results on Friday's programme and, of course, on our website.
Harry and Batley, thank you.